Okay. So I have an entertainment industry background. You already know I worked. I was a PUSD parent for 19 years. I have one son who is in Santa Barbara and also getting a master's degree now. And I have another son who is at Cal State Long Beach, who's actually studying in Denmark for 5 months. So that's a little crazy. The 9-hour time difference is really no joke. Trying to figure out what he's doing when he's doing things, and it's always the wrong time. A little bit about my experience as in public education. I attended 7 elementary schools in 6 years. My father was in the military. My mother was pursuing advanced degrees. And so we moved a lot. I always went to a public school. And when I was growing up, wherever we moved, you went to the public school that was down the street from you. So that's been my experience. Let's see, what's next? So about the Pasadena Unified School District. So Pasadena Unified School District is probably different than you expect if you've been to Pasadena. We support 3 different communities: Pasadena, Altadena, and Sierra Madre, and they're very different from each other. Our student population is about 14,000, was 18,000 when I started. We are very socioeconomically and racially diverse. 67% are free and reduced lunch. And historical context for our community is that we were the first community west of the Mississippi to have court-ordered busing in the 70s, which led to middle-class families leaving for private schools and neighboring districts. This has also led us to be in a situation where we have more private schools and school options per capita than any other city our size of the nation. So it's a complex community. I know Alhambra knows well of our community. She's our neighbor. So it is the context we work from, which makes us as an ed foundation different, because we are both an affluent community and a very socioeconomically disadvantaged community at the same time. Challenges facing PUSD: we currently only get 55% of our school age population to attend our schools. A persistent negative stereotype perception gap of our district and schools. We're right now in the middle of a bond measure. And of course, all of these same old ugly stories are rearing their heads. Our schools are bad. All of these things, here they are facing us again, just screaming at us. Our neighboring districts are less socioeconomically diverse. They have higher test scores and rankings. So we're very much surrounded by more affluent communities. And we have a growing number of options outside of the district. And a rapidly declining school age population because it's really expensive to live here. PUSD has been really making amazing strides the past 10 years. And even since as I've been working within the district for 22 years, given being a parent and now, it's amazing changes. Attracting middle-class families back to PUSD, magnet schools, expanded visual performing arts, everything you would like to see in a growing, vibrant district. We have that to offer. And yet the negative stereotypes persist. It's still a constant. We need to constantly say good things about the district and constantly be reinforcing these positive messages, which puts us in an interesting place for fundraising. So our mission is working to achieve excellence and equity in all PUSD schools. Our leadership is 30+ board members. Yes, it's a lot, but we really try to represent our whole community on our board. We have 15 staff members. And when you look at that, you just look at, there's 45 people there that are out in your community speaking on behalf of your district that aren't paid by the district. So these are people that need the right information. So before I go to that, I'm going to preface this by saying we are a larger ed foundation than most ed foundations. We've been around for 50 years. So when you see that we raise between $12 and $15 million annually, I realize that most foundations are not in that position, particularly in a socioeconomically diverse community. A lot of that has to do with it. We do provide grant writing services to the district. So some of that could be represented by large magnet grants, community school grants. Those things are also rolled into that amount. We raise money from individuals, businesses, foundations, government grants. We also run programs So we offer programs like summer enrichment. We have an app academy, which is a 4-year computer science at a high school that we support and run. Middle school robotics. We do a lot of community engagement activity, and we are district ambassadors, advocates, and communication partners. That's how we position ourselves with the district. So I wanted to hear more about your districts and your foundations, so I can get a sense of the things that you'd like to hear. So who wants to go?
I can go first. It's another sort of unique use case for me because our department does not oversee our foundation. So today I'm just hoping to learn to see what others are doing. I come from a county office of education, and we do have an educational foundation that funds a lot of the student events that we host countywide. So like our robotics competitions, a lot of STEM, different like our STEM fair, um, Pinnacle Awards, like a lot of these things that our county office hosts is funded through the Ed Foundation. And the only fundraiser that they do every year is a golf tournament. And I feel like there's like it could be expanded. And so I'm looking for ideas today from what others are doing to be able to kind of like pitch and say, hey, we can do more. And to see if we're able to maybe support with that. I know that there's some um, weirdness, like you can't work for the foundation outside of like during business hours or something like that. I forget exactly, but I come from a school district where I helped revamp and like relaunch our foundation before I'd left. And so we're starting to get some momentum before the pandemic and everything. But anyways, just looking to learn some ideas today so we can expand ours.
All right. Anybody else want to tell me about your district foundation relationship?
I
Sure,
can
I can
go.
go next.
Oh no, go ahead, Edwin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Edwin. I'm with San Diego Union High School District. I just joined about a couple months ago. Our district is very unique in that our high schools each have their own foundation. Um, and it's been really interesting trying to create some cohesive messaging, support, basically rally support for the district and all of our schools. But another challenge is that within our district, our communities are also very diverse. So each school and each foundation has its own identity, its own community, and so on.
We are the umbrella 501c3 for all of the annual funds on our campuses, on our schools. So I understand that each individual school fundraising collectively against each other and with their own identity, the complexities of that. Anybody else like to tell me a little more?
Yeah, I can go. I'm similar to Veronica. My department doesn't really own this or do much with it, but I saw that I came across and thought I could see what I could learn and possibly toss over and give them advice on maybe just different things that they're doing. We're a really small district. We don't have a lot going on. I actually have a 501 background, so I kind of want to see what I know with how the school district works and see what we can do to try and amp up our foundation. So I'm just here for knowledge.
So I'll go. I'm with Rockland Unified, and we have a foundation, but our foundation doesn't really make a lot of money. I think we have a before and after school program that we offer the school district, and then we also have an annual gala that makes $10,000 after breaking even. So we don't really get close to 10 million, let alone 1 million. So I would love to hear how the Pasadena Foundation does it. And my position on the foundation is a designee on behalf of the school district. So that's how it's broken.
Amber, did I see you raise your hand?
I did. Sorry, I was just waiting. Hi, I'm Amber Farina. I work for the San Carlos School District, which is in the Bay Area. We're a small district of just 8 schools, but our San Carlos Education Foundation raises about $3.7 million a year. And one thing that's significant or that's unique, I think, is that they merged with our PTA funding last year. So now SCEF, which is called, it's called SCEF, raises funds for PTA. So we don't do a double ask of parents anymore. SCEF raises all the funds and then they distribute it out to the school site, to the school PTA. So they've joined together to do joint fundraising. And it's been about 2 years. So I'm curious to see how I haven't seen any data on if that's worked well or not well. But they are hitting their targets still. So they do, it's been around for 10, 15 years. So it's a really strong foundation, but it is completely separate from the district. So they do all their own marketing, all their own events, all their own everything. And then they just funnel the money back to the school sites and or write a check to our board at the end of the school year. But they do have ties to what they want or what they fundraise for. So specifically, what the need is, and then we have to make sure that we use their funds for those things specifically, like lowering class sizes or counselors for emotional health and wellness, PE, technology grants, music programs, things like that.
I have not heard that model before.
Mhm.
Connecting with the PTAs, I really think it's really interesting.
Yeah, one of our other districts have done it, Menlo Park School District as well, which is right next to us. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm waiting to see kind of like a, paper on it to see if it's working or not. But yeah, if you're interested, ping me and I can.
Are your schools are they similar in socioeconomic?
They are, yeah. So we
Okay.
were, our funding is still, we still have to get local support. We still are just flat funded. So we don't get any community fund or any extra funding at all. So is that basic aid? Sorry, I forget the terms now. I'm like, what are we now? Basic aid is when you get the extra amount, right, from the property taxes. We're not that. So we are surrounded by districts that have that and we do not. So we're always trying to find funding to bridge that because it then doesn't, it's challenging to be in a really nice area that everyone has all this funding and we don't get that much funding because we're a smaller school district and we're only TK 8. So we're not a high school district either. But yeah, I'm happy to set you up with someone if you'd like to talk to them about how that funding model works.
I would. Anyone else, or shall we go? Kristen.
Go. Hi, I'm Kirsten Johnson. I'm with Solana Beach School District, and I have been here for about a year, but not full time the whole time. So I just want to make sure that I present our foundation in the correct way. But we do work very closely with the foundation. Their offices are actually here at the district office. And I walked down there earlier today to talk with them. And we're a basic aid district. So our foundation raises money to help pay for our STREAM programs, instructors, materials, supplies, phys ed, all that extra stuff that we're not getting money for from the state.
Serena?
Yeah, sorry for joining late. I was just coming back from a video shoot. Serena Johi, I'm with Central Unified School District. I am the foundation director. I've been here for just about 5 years. So when I came in, we did not have an executive director. The Board of Trustees actually approved my position 5 years ago. So the district pays for about 90% of my salary, and then the foundation takes care of the other portion of it. I am in the superintendent's office, so my support system is my superintendent as well as our communications department. And so we are a little mighty team of 3. So it's really nice. My background is news and media, so I have those PIO, web design, creative design background. And my job really was to come in and brand the foundation. And so for the first 5 years, it was about branding and building those relationships with exterior partners and businesses, and really break out of that like 70,000 annual revenue stream. It was very, very small. And so now consecutively, probably for the last 2.5, 3 years, we are more towards that $500,000 mark. We've been able to endow several scholarships, grow a scholarship program, as well, which has been a huge accomplishment. In lining with the community schools missions, I've opened up a food pantry with the Feeding America partnerships. But most importantly, my job really has been to advocate as to where dollars go for our foundation. I think there can be some miscommunication as to what is a foundation really funding. And so that educational piece is huge, and that's been part of my advocacy. So a lot of our buy-in comes from the district members, but also the community at large. That's been a huge piece, and we've been really successful at doing so. And then bridging gaps with student services, family outreach liaisons, and having open dialogue as to where those SARC reports come in and where does that those dollars come in short, right? And then how do we adjust the foundation to meet those needs? So I was really interested in the previous from San Carlos district about the PTA collaboration. I think that's wonderful, right? Not having to do multiple asks. So I'm really interested in like getting us to that $1 million level now, kind of creating that 5-year plan and just like continuing to see that growth because it's such a beautiful cause. And then lastly, I did want to say I've gotten really creative with grant funding through the city, not only for our foundation, but also for our district. So I am a grant writer. And so looking at revenue streams from city and also federal for support as well for the foundation and for the district is something that I do.
Congratulations on growing it that fast.
Thank you.
That's phenomenal. I mean, really, to go from 70,000 to 500,000 is it's a lot of work, and a lot of thought and a lot of careful ways you're putting it together and making sure that money is going to where you're raising money for the things that you really need. And that's such a key to what you're doing.
Thank you, Monica.
Okay, I'll go. My name's Natalie Gaither. I'm Director of Public Information for the Alhambra School District, which is in the San Gabriel Valley. I am Monica's neighbor. Alhambra's relatively close to Pasadena. And so our foundation has been around for about 30 years, but some of those years it wasn't super active. They've been very active probably in the last 15 years, about half that time. And their funding comes primarily from their annual gala. They run our enrichment summer school. So that comes, they get a big chunk of money from that. And then they have some partnerships. For example, the city of Alhambra runs a pumpkin run for a Halloween, a 5K and a festival, and the proceeds from that go to our foundation. So we've got a couple of big events, and then they do other small fundraisers. They've supported everything annually. They do teacher mini grants, books for our primary kids, support for instrumental music. Then they safety things like defibrillators for all our schools. And then they do larger projects. So currently they are sponsoring science camp for all of the 6th graders in our district. So every spring they go to science camp. And then when our band performs in the Tournament of Roses parade, they will raise money for newer uniforms and all of that stuff. And so they've been a lovely partners. They are the president is a former student board member, and he's a parent in our district, and they have rented a little tiny, or they bought a little house across the street, and so that's their foundation office, so we can walk there all the time, and we try to support them as much as we can. They have probably, I want to say maybe 10 people on their board. And then they have what's called Friends of the Foundation, which are the folks who don't want to serve on the board, but they do kind of the groundwork, and they do all of the work, the wrapping of gifts for silent auctions and all of kind of the all hands on deck kind of group. So they're a wonderful group. They're not quite in the millions each year, but they're probably between 300,000 and 500,000 a year, which is pretty good. And then whatever extra things they want to do, extra events.
Awesome. So I'm going to, unless anybody else wants to jump in now, I'm going to move on because unless there's anything else.
I
Okay.
just wanted to say I put our website in the chat. So if anybody wants to take a look at the district's explanation of how the funding works, and then you can go to their specific website if you want.
So just a quick overview about how Education Foundation supports school districts. I look at it in 3 ways. We raise funds, we raise awareness and support, and we offer programs and services. Those are pretty much the 3 buckets I see things in. There are no cookie cutter models, as you just heard. Everybody's was entirely different. There wasn't a single model that lined up in what we just heard. And that the foundations and stem from the relationship with the district and the unique needs of the district and the community. And so as you build them, they will evolve in that way. As Serena said, as what happened with hers. I look at raise awareness as support as one thing, because the community engagement piece goes along with the raising funds and raising support. And then when you raise support for your district, then you can raise funds. If you're not doing that awareness and raising support in a general concept, you're not going to raise the funds unless it's external grants, but from your community, you won't. So these are the key components of education foundations. These are what make them work. I really want to focus today on, as we're communications professionals, on the thing that I think that we have the greatest opportunity to do within our districts. And for me, because I am the marketing person for the Ed Foundation, most Ed Foundations don't have a marketing person. I'm also the director of strategic planning, which is new, because I decided to do that. But so I can be very proactive with the district and looking for information. Your Ed Foundations might not have as much of an opportunity to be very proactive to keep getting information. So you need to be more proactive, because the 2 things that I think we need to talk about are that your Ed Foundation needs to be a trusted and independent voice and have a strong connection to the district. They need to have the information that they need, but your community needs to know that they can speak to the Ed Foundation. They have the right information, but the Ed Foundation isn't just parroting what the district has told them. So moving forward. So why it's important for your foundation to have accurate and timely information. These are the keys, the main reasons I think it's important. So when your foundation doesn't have good information and they aren't working with your communications departments, or they're off on their own doing their things, which they're doing because they care, they're doing because it's their job, they're doing for all of the right reasons. But if they don't have the right information from you, they can tell inaccurate stories. Because they're looking for the information. And if they haven't gotten it from you and they're going to take what they can find. They can tend to adopt a deficit-minded approaches because they're thinking fundraising first and community and telling your great stories second. So it's a lot easier to fundraise if you're saying there's no money from the state, there's all of the negative things, instead of having to focus on the positive things. They can fail to address the true needs of your district, what you really need, because you haven't told them what you really need. They're kind of guessing. They can lose credibility because they don't have the right information. They'll miss impactful opportunities. You needed something, but they didn't know. And here was this opportunity, but they just were churning along in, oh, we have to do this gala, and we have to do this, and we have to do, these are the things on our list. They can struggle to demonstrate their impact if they're not getting the information from you, because one of the things about foundation work is we raise the money, we do community engagement, we do a lot of these things in support of our district, but we don't actually do the work. In our case, we do programs that we do the work. So if we aren't getting the impact stories back from you, then we can't tell the story, and we can't go back to fundraisers saying, this is the great thing that happened. And then we can make your communications more difficult because we're out saying things that we shouldn't be saying. I'm not saying that I'm saying in the general sense of a foundation. And they can focus on their perceived needs of your district, which they believe you need because somebody has told them along the way, or another community person has said, this is what the district needs. And then they want to give the foundation, the district, money to do something, and they're bringing in these ideas. And then it's very hard for you in this position. We look at the foundations For us, we help connect the resources of the community to the district. So we can be in that middle place where we can help make sure that what the community thinks is a good idea actually is going to work for the district. And if it's not going to work for the district, we're going to help make sure that the community person organization doesn't think that the district isn't responsive. So that's one of the ways we work. So I make this joke often is that you really don't want your foundation fundraising for pencils. And the reason I talk about that is that how many times do you see people want to give you pencil pouches for your kids? I mean, this is the thing. Oh, we're going to raise money from this. We're going to get pencil pouches. The message there when they're raising for fundraising, when they're fundraising for things like pencils, is that your district doesn't have the money for pencils. And this is what people hear. So in our case, every time someone is out there raising money for something so simple, then it's, you know, it's why do they need pencils? Or the district isn't supplying pencils. Oh, public education is failing, right? This is what people start to hear. So I'm sure you have examples, you've seen that in your own communities where where this wrong messaging is coming out, not because anybody was misintentioned, but because they felt that was a need and that you might need it. And it was a good thing to give pencils. So let's see. Any thoughts on that before we move on about why this is complicated? Okay. So what can we as foundations do better when you are our communications partner? When you are actively helping us to help you? You know, that's we are the only person in your community that's sole job is to help you. Any of your other community partners that you work with have a variety of things to do. Ours is to help our school district and to be a part of that and to do it in however it's going to work best for our district and the way we look at it. So one of the great things you can do is help us tell authentic and accurate stories. Make sure they're getting to us. A simple email. Here's a great story about something that you've done. We, like everybody else, are looking for social media, things to share. Impact, what's happening, you know, make sure we're aware of your great stories. Communicate and fundraise for real needs. What are the real needs of your district that we can help you really connect the community with? Help us create and support impactful programs with you. We just launched this, a SciTech roundtable. Our community, we have Caltech, we have JPL, we have the city of Pasadena is economic development department is working on a biotech corridor. There's all kinds of these things happening here, but our SciTech industry is not connected to our schools well. So we just launched a roundtable conversation with higher ed, city government, our SciTech community, and ones who don't know us, not people that have always partnered with us, but new people. And then our district staff, our chief academic officer, to work together to create an impactful program, not separately and then bring it to them, but everybody at the table. So help us tailor messages for diverse audiences, understanding that, you know, we're trying to, you know, help us get that information. Build community and partner trust. We need you to help us do that. You know, we've got bond measures out there right now, I mentioned early on, and it is messy. It is messy and ugly, and it's unfortunate. The city has bond measures, we have bond measures, and actually, because we're two different cities have their own bond measures plus ours. And so there's a lot of things. So helping us build that community of trust and partner trust, and knowing that we're there for you. Engage in meaningful dialogue with us, monitor effectiveness, showcase tangible impact. What is the tangible impact of us working together, and to help and maintain transparency. You know, make sure that we know if something is happening, if something is coming up, if you've got a media release going out, a heads up is helpful. You know, I'll give you an example. And we work well with our communications. partners, but we've done a lot of, raise support for building playgrounds, right? We don't want to read in the paper or online the next day that a new playground was launched and we didn't know it, because then our partners are like, well, you told us you needed a playground for there, and we were trying to help you with that. So all of these things are what we can do with good information. And they're great things that we can do as we work as partners. So I know you have thoughts on that. I know you do. Sandeep, I'm going to make you talk.
Well, to be honest, my foundation is a hot mess. Um, so I've joined Rockland Unified about 3.5 years ago. So I really gave my suggestions on what a solid foundation should do to support this school district. I'm very anxiously optimistic about the changes that we have made over the last 9 to 12 months. And we're on the right path. We're having our strategic meeting within the next 3 to 4 weeks. We're just finalizing on the date. So I'm very excited about all of the future planning going on. So I think one thing that we do very well is a mini grant opportunity for our teachers and educators to apply for grant funding. And then we're going to launch it on this Friday, and we're digitizing it using Inform K-12, which is similar to DocuSign. I'm shocked my foundation is on board with that, but it's a huge improvement to streamline the approval process to make sure that what's being applied for is actually in alignment with district protocols and procedures. But those grants have a positive impact on students' education and classrooms and supports and stuff that align with the foundation's own goals and also the district. So that's one of the big things that we'll be showcasing a lot of on our revamped website that should be launching in the next month or two for the foundation.
Now, the grants, PEF started doing teacher grants. We still do teacher grants. It's still a big signature program of ours, and they're huge. And that is also this great intersection space where you work very well as a district to the grants. So for instance, we just got all of our grant applications in. We will go through them, and then we'll reach out to our arts coordinator and make sure that there isn't already funding for that from the arts coordinator. So
yeah, so what we're trying to do is with the Inform K-12 form, I'm overseeing each application, but after the principal signs off, then it immediately goes to business services to check to make sure that it's in alignment with, insurance or whatever, accounting they need to do. And then it gets pushed to me, and then I send it to either elementary or secondary, and then it comes back to me, and then I send it to M&O if it's a facilities thing, and or to tech if they need to sign off on it. And then all the approvals are done. And then so we'll see how it goes. Ideally, I hope it's less of a strenuous process for the applicant as well as the district, because obviously we want to secure as much funding as possible, but not be overwhelming the whole system. So there's like a fine balance, because the foundation is its own entity as well that wants to support our educational partners just as much as the school district does.
Any other thoughts? Okay, so now I've let you know why I think all of this is really important, that we find this place of where we're sharing information, and in ways, some things that we do, that I do here, we do here with the district, and what the district does with us. As I said, we also, our space is in the district offices. So we can just go upstairs or go down the hall and speak to people. We couldn't for a couple years, but we can now. And we also, our staff is, in our case, we've been here a long time. So most of our, I think the most recent, we have one employee who's been here for 2 years. Actually, I guess he taught for us in summer school, so 4. So that's the most recent employee we have. So it makes a difference. Let's see. No more thoughts? I can't see the questions or anything. So Jacqueline, let me know if there's anything there.
There's just one from Kirsten. Amber, thank you for sharing the website. Likes the idea of community funded district versus basic aid. And then I actually want to add my own thoughts, because seeing this list of things, I'm in the relationship building phase. I'm somewhat new to my role, and our new executive director of the foundation, this is her 2nd month. And so we are just starting to build that relationship. Our roles have been here, but both of us are new. And so seeing this list of like, here are some things that I can start doing to build that relationship so that we are working cohesively is just extremely helpful.
Great. All right. So let's see. Save your time. Okay. So, okay. So we schedule regular meetings. My executive director, myself, my community engagement manager, and our director of development grant writer meet with the superintendent once every Monday. So we meet at that level to have conversations with her, and it's just her. And we did that with the previous superintendent also. Now that had started during COVID. It hadn't been that before, but part of that was when COVID happened and the schools closed down, we had a volunteer system. And so we were able to jump in on that Monday and start and get people out to give out meals. And so part of that, the fact that we were able to jump in and do that, that rolled into us having regular meetings, and that's continued on since 2020. So when we meet there, we also, executive director has lunch with the superintendent, so that he's on that level of knowing what's coming, and what's next. And we are functioning, even though we are our own independent 501c3 with our own strategic plan, it aligns with what the district's doing all the time. Simple things, and these are simple, but when you're starting a relationship and it hasn't been happening, is just encourage newsletter subscriptions and social media interactions. If you tag them, they're likely to tag you. If it's something that they supported or helped in any way, or you think that they're interested in, tag them. Tag them so that they know you're paying attention to the work that they're doing, if they have social media, right? And that encourage them to subscribe to your newsletter. They might not do that, and subscribe to theirs. There's an internal newsletter. If you have this, and this is within your way you can do it, there's an academic newsletter here at the district that just goes internally, but I also get it. So I can see the stories that they're telling internally and what's coming, and use that to also give them a call and say, hey, we could do this more since this was supported by us. Why don't we do this together? It just gives us some more ways we can connect on pushing out the same messaging and amplifying each other and amplifying the district's voice if I'm hearing it. Keep the district keep your Ed Foundation informed of upcoming media releases or events. Let them know, a quick little note. Hey, by the way, here's what's coming up on our calendar if you didn't see it. Sometimes your messaging can be so parent-centered on events that it's not necessary, that they might not get it. They might not be in that loop to know these important things are happening. Provide access to your staff, leadership, and experts. If they don't have easy access, then when they need an answer to a question, like we're doing this huge grant. I need this data to submit this grant by this deadline. And if the people managing your data don't know that it's important to give the foundation something, then they're going to get pushed down to the bottom. And that's not because they're intentionally pushing anybody down to the bottom. They just don't know that this is important. So your communications department can be that advocate for your foundation within these other departments. And if there's a crisis, keep them in the loop if at all possible. I know that it's not possible, but we do get heads up on things as often as it can happen. We don't expect it, but if there's something that's going to be big out there, it's helpful if we know, because for a foundation our size and an established foundation, people will be coming to us. They'll be coming to us and asking us. And so even a heads up, hey, this thing happened. I can't give you all the details now, but be aware. So any thoughts on any of those? All right. Okay. So I said, subscribe to their newsletters and engage with their social channels. Follow what they're doing too. You know, I mean, let them know that you know what they're doing, that they're not operating in this kind of separate vacuum, you know, and if you're engaging with their social channels, it's much easier for you. Just a little that the district liked it, right? Or a little note, you know, thanks to the foundation. Assist with marketing materials when appropriate. I did a thing a couple years ago, which are 15 things you might not know about PUSD. And it was and we've continued to use it. We just did a realtor certification course. We use the same information. And I wrote it, but I took it back to the district and made them read all of it to make sure that I was saying accurate stuff. And so they were able to assist me with the marketing materials that I was doing to make sure that it was accurate. Be open to that and let them know, hey, if you need a fact checker, if you need someone to do that, if you need me to look at this, if you need, I'm very big into our visual storytelling. So I have a fantastic photographer. District wants my photos. My photos are yours. They're your students. Here it is. But if they need something, rather than having them use stock photo, what if you just gave them and said, hey, here's some great photos you might like to use of our own students that we know are approved, right? And they're not just worrying and always showing the backs of kids because they don't have access to this kind of photography. And the backs of kids or stock photography is not really what you want them to be showing. You want them to be showing your kids and the great work you're doing and your teachers. Extend invitations to your events. Just, you know, every so often, you know, here's a note. Here's this thing that's happening. And attend their events. You know, whatever they might be you know, in this case, PEN, which is another organization, is doing we have new for elections. So we have new board members. So they're doing a candidate forum, you know, have someone go to the candidate forum, or at least let them know that you knew they were having a candidate forum. I already said, kind of act as their advocate internally and externally. They are working with you. They support you. You want the community to know that you believe in your foundation, even if they're struggling, but outwardly as much as you can, that they're working for you. And thank and acknowledge their work and partners' work. And this can be a struggle. This is an emotional struggle. As I said before, the partners are the people who paid for it, didn't do the work, right? But so the College Football Playoff Foundation, between the College Football Playoff Foundation, the Tournament of Roses, and ourselves, we give out $233,000 in teacher grants. So, I mean, this is a lot of money. The College Football Playoff Foundation gives us $100,000 to do this and a few other things. But they need to be thanked and acknowledged, right? It's not enough for just us to do it, because they've partnered with us to do this for the district. So that extra extension of district acknowledgement that College Football Playoff Foundation did something great for your teachers. So remembering that, and again, tag them. But those simple little things, remembering in a media release to name them. Because they will notice, and they're doing it for a lot of reasons, but particularly if you have corporate sponsors, they're doing it to be seen. And if we don't acknowledge them, good that that the foundation acknowledges them, but that mention from the district and to your parents and to your communities that this happened will make a big difference, and you continuing to get more money into your foundation and make more impact, because they stay when they're, it's unfortunately the level, it's cultivation. And this is what your foundation does, is they're keeping them, and they and make sure that, simple thing is, if you need to give us, if you've got someone who's a big donor, make it easy for us to give them a school tour, right? Those kinds of things. Any thoughts on any of those? Anything where you've seen this go well, not well? All right. Okay. So that's what I look at it like, one level of I'm going. So there's a next level where you can, where when you're working better together, you can coordinate your messages together, which is great when that happens. It's really powerful when we're doing a principal for a day and the announcement comes from PEF and the Pasadena Unified School District announces something. So doing those things collectively. I said, give special access, share the relevant data, behind the scenes content, team up for community projects. We often like to do things where both of our logos are there. We're doing these things together, and establish communication protocols with each other. Talk to each other, build this relationship with how are we going to communicate with each other? Where for a while from Magnet Money, we had a marketing person for the district. We haven't had a marketing person since. She and I met weekly. We met weekly so that we knew how we were giving information to each other and what information. So it was very easy for us to work together that way. I'm just being mindful of time. That's why I rushed through that. Because the last piece, I just wanted to give you and I will, Jacqueline can share these PowerPoint with you, because it has a lot of the things that we do. I don't want to go through everything that we do, because, but maybe hit some of the things. We do a lot of continuous education for our board and staff. We are constantly educating our board so that they're out there in the community saying the right thing. These are big donors or they're community advocates. And we developed cheat sheets. I have an online password protected board hub where they can go at any time to get the right information. If they're out there that someone asks them a question, we train them. If you don't know the answer, don't answer. Right? Just say you can get the answer. As I said, we provide speaker training. We train them on elevator pitches about the district. Right now, we have to do a whole training on the test scores. Right? The test scores is the thing, because that's what's out in the media. Is trying for them to be able to explain why our test scores are where they are, because we want to be asset minded. And then we connect ourselves, and we connect our board members to the district staff regularly. So the superintendent sits at our board meetings. She always does a presentation, and board meetings always have a district staff person there to do some sort of presentation. And we have other opportunities for our district staff to connect with our board and others. We create targeted campaigns and initiatives with city leaders, with the Chamber of Commerce. We have a realtor initiative. We do a realtor certification course, which you might have heard about at previous presentations or over the years here at CalSPRA. We just did one. In partnership with our Realtor Association, we do training on certification courses. They're certified PUSD experts. So they don't tell people don't buy a house here, or if you do, you'll have to go to private school, because that's what our realtors would tell people. But we've certified 100 realtors that now can tell the right story. I talked to you about the SciTech. We do a lot of volunteer recruitment, and when we do big like Kaiser Permanentes here, we consider them curated events, because they're also going to get a presentation about the district. It's not enough to come be extra hands. We want you not to be advocates for what you've learned. These are our communications and engagement roles. We try to be very visible at district and school events, art exhibits, music festivals, community events. We're there. We'll be at the college, there's a college fair. Ask your foundation if they want to be there. Do they want to have a table? Do they want to be at the things that you do? Always ask them. They may not be staffed up enough, but they might have a volunteer staff or someone who had friends of the Alhambra. You have your foundation, the friends of the foundation. This might be things that they like to do. Show up to the college fair and give out bags.
Monica, we have a question in the chat from Edwin. What was the relationship or connection with the chambers?
With the chamber, honestly, I'm recommending chambers to you. Our chamber is a little bit of a different story. We struggle with our chamber. Our chamber is not a supporter of our public schools. They historically are negative on our public schools and don't really, that's where they sit. They have come out against the bond measures for the schools.
Monica, can I jump in with a question, a follow-up? If you did have a good relationship with the chambers, how would you leverage that relationship?
The first thing I would do is find out is what we did with the Realty Initiative. It would be the same thing. Is that because we have to, in our case, we have to overcome this perception gap that they already don't like us. So it's going out and meeting with them and talking to them. What do you know about our schools? Right? What do you think? How do you think our education is doing? What do your members think? Maybe reaching out to some of their members and saying, we do a principal for a day. Would you like to come on our campuses? Would you like to have a tour? We just did, part of our realtor certification is having a tour. And the realtors talked about one particular school. I said, you want to have a tour? Get together 5 people. I'll take you on a tour of any of the schools that you want to go on. So it's building that relationship with the chamber also. And I know my time is up. And I'm free, by the way. I don't have to go anywhere. So if anybody wants to stay and ask me questions, I think the rest is just, we do a lot of events. We do ed talks. We do the principal for a day. We do forums and roundtables, and we do a huge celebrating our schools event, which is our fundraiser, but it includes a student showcase. And it's an interactive student showcase because my belief is that we do fundraising to people in our community who've never been in our schools and haven't seen our students, and they don't see how great they are. So we bring our work to our event, and they get to interact with our students and see the amazing things that they're doing. And it is a dynamic and exciting thing to see people who are donating to schools that their kids didn't go to, or and that's another one of the keys, is putting our students in front of our donors. And having the ability to do that because our schools do it, because they work with us on this and they value it. And I don't want to, let's see, most of this is communications and marketing, general stuff that we do. We do a graduation map that we release at the end of all you'll see that right there, all the places that our students are going to for the district, because we do some marketing for the district. And that I stole from the Santa Monica Foundation. So if she sees it, let her know. I've already told her. It was a great idea. I just stole it. This is the greatest thing ever. So I stole it.
It's not stealing, it's public funds being repurposed.
There you go. But I don't even have public funds. I call it the R&D department, rip off and duplicate, and I'm all good with it. Because it was a great idea, and no one from Santa Monica is going to see that I did it. So a lot of these things, and I will, as I said, share that with you. And I'm really done looking at my PowerPoint. I can see people again. So that was all I have that I rushed through, but I was really glad to hear what you all had to say about your particular situations, because as I said, they're all different and we can learn so much from each other about what's working. So I'm happy to carry on the conversation anytime. If you have ideas, things you want to know, if you want to share things that worked great, because we're all working so independently in these small spaces, but whatever we do collectively makes public education better. So that's that.
Monica, I had a question. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your interactive student showcase. Just gave me a great idea for our scholarship awards for next year. So thank you for sharing all this wonderful information. In your experience and with your foundation, for programs that have kind of just continued. And one of your key things was the donor recognition, right? So making sure that signage is going up at events, or, teachers are sending photos or sending invites to you. In those cases, when you're not receiving the brand acknowledgement or the donor acknowledgement, what have you done to get things back on track? Or has that changed? Has the program changed? Have the eligibility changed, qualifications? Could you speak a little bit about that?
We have so many people that we need to acknowledge all the time. And so it is a constant process. It is a constant process of reminding, and making sure that, from the communications department, and even like at our teacher grants level, is our parents don't know that this thing was paid for by the PEF, because on a school site level, it's not acknowledged. So it's one of the things that we do is because we're really acknowledging teachers, is we give them some signage for their classroom that says this was supported by PEF, a grant from PEF. And then the logos of the College Football Playoff Foundation, Trinity Roses, making sure that they know we have a teacher grants reception. And then the College Football Playoff Foundation comes, and they also have that opportunity to be in front of, 150 teachers. And that photo op, I'll tell you, photo op of a lot of people that are being supported. When you're taking photos, try to get the group picture. I know it's a pain. It is a pain to get everybody, and people roll their eyes at you. But when you have that ability to have your donor or even yourself to say, look at all of these people that were impacted by this, right? It's worth the moment that you take to make it happen. And that's a simple thing. And send it to the donor if they weren't there. Look at all these happy teachers that you made this happen with. The photography, those things you can't, and I know I hate pulling everybody together and stopping them from what they're doing, but it's worth the moment. And you have it for a long time to use. I don't know if I answered your question, but I got partway.
You did, and I'm going to take away the signage for the classroom grants, because that one is definitely extremely hard. Recently, I had a conversation with the principal who was unaware we were underwriting all of the band and choir registrations for the last 20 years. So it blows my mind that some of the communication levels don't make it all the way down. And
It's
yeah.
I mean, I know it's hard, and there's us, and then there's anything that might
Of
be
course.
on the school site. Someone came and did an astronomy night for them, and that's what they were focused on because they were there with the kids and they couldn't think about the larger picture that, the foundation got 3D printers for every school, when that was new, right? And here we are using the 3D printers. Am I going to take a picture and send it to the foundation? Not necessarily. I mean, it's a good goal. And when we get them, we get them. But because I can go out and ask because I have enough staff. Most of your foundations don't. So that puts it back on you to make sure that, these things, that there's a kind of a circle of recognition.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Were there-
Anything else?
I was just gonna see if there were any other questions.
I just wanted to say thank you. I feel like I understand how our district works with our foundation more after listening to all this discussion. So it's really
Good.
helpful. Thank you.
Good. And, it continues to evolve. And, of course, there's also individual players in it beyond the system. So, we just had a huge turnover in district staff and district leadership. So even our strategic implementation plan for this year, it's building those relationships because we have to start over. Good. Well, this was fun. I
Um,
appreciate being here.
Monica, I want to thank you for your presentation as well, and also thank everyone who was able to stay on. I have a couple